Hello and welcome to Football Daily, where today we're bringing you a team made of the toughest and most violent bastards in the game. Goalkeeper, Bert Trautmann. German Trautmann spent 15 years with Manchester City between the 40s and 60s, making more than 500 appearances for the Sky Blues. As a young man, he had fought in Russia with the German army and had deserted after witnessing the atrocities perpetrated by the SS. With City, Trautmann reached the FA Cup final in 1956, and as he saved a shot from Birmingham City's Peter Murphy, he was hit in the head by the forward's knee. He felt a sharp pain and struggled to focus, but saw out the last 15 minutes of the game, making several important stops at the death as City won 3-1. After the game, Prince Philip, presenting the medals, noted that Trautmann's neck looked crooked. It turned out that he had broken his neck and dislocated 5 vertebrae. He died in 2013 at the age of 89. Defender, Pepe. Pepe is a genuinely excellent player who is still almost impossible to like. Born in Brazil, the Portuguese centre-back is capable of taking a beating from the dirtiest centre-forwards, but is also prone to dropping to the floor at the lightest touch. But despite his play acting, Pepe is tough, quick, strong in the challenge and unbelievable in the air. Twice a Champions League winner and a Euro 2016 champ, Pepe has 9 red cards in his career and more than 100 yellow cards. Back in 2009, he received a 10-match ban for stamping on an opponent who was lying on the floor. He then hit another player and, after getting his marching orders, shouted, "You're all sons of bitches," as he left the field. Actually, that does make us like him just a little bit. Defender, Terry Butcher. Defender Butcher earned 77 caps for England in the 80s and won 3 Scottish titles with Rangers. But there is just one game which defines Butcher's commitment to winning and earns him a spot in our team. During a World Cup qualifier against Sweden in 1989, Butcher challenged an opponent for the ball in the air, and the two players bumped heads painfully. Butcher sustained a deep cut, but continued to play after the physio put in 7 stitches on the field, with his head wrapped in bandages. Butcher put in a heroic display, though every headed clearance tore out his stitches. Soon the bandages, his shirt and shorts were drenched with blood. England saw out a 0-0 draw and went to the 1990 World Cup, where Butcher captained them to the semi-final. Defender, Daniel Passarella. One of South America's most highly regarded defenders, Passarella bossed the backline for Argentina, River Plate and Inter Milan in the 80s. Aggressive and fearless, Passarella scored 1 in 3 despite playing at the back and would stop at nothing to win the ball, usually throwing an elbow just to make sure he got it. While at Inter, Passarella once slapped a ball boy who he thought was wasting time during a game, and after retirement, the unpleasantness continued. Passarella became Argentina manager, and his first action was to ban long hair, earrings and gay players from the squad. Being a piece of shit didn't make Passarella a good coach though, and his career on the sidelines has since fizzled out, to the relief of long-haired ball boys everywhere. Defender, Stuart Pearce. The man they called Psycho never won a major trophy, but was famed for his resilience and passion on the field. He won 78 caps for England and at one point in the early 90s was regarded as one of the best left-backs in Europe. In 1999, when playing for West Ham against Watford, Pearce's leg was broken by a strong challenge. Unbelievably, the 37-year-old tried to run off the injury and refused to be stretchered off for treatment, instead hobbling out of play by himself. At halftime, he insisted that he could continue, but manager Harry Redknapp said no. A serious man, Pearce was such a fierce competitor that England teammate Gary Lineker claimed to have only seen the defender smile once. That's one more time than the rest of us. Midfielder, Gennaro Gattuso. Christened the Rhino, Gennaro Gattuso played more than 400 games for Milan, winning 2 Serie A titles and 2 Champions Leagues, as well as the World Cup with Italy. A hard-working and energetic player, he was the muscle counterbalancing the delicate Andrea Pirlo in the Rossoneri midfield. In 2011, during a Champions League game, Gattuso faced off with Spurs assistant coach Joe Jordan, himself a famed hard man. Unafraid, Gattuso grabbed the Scot by the throat before headbutting him, and when he became a manager after retirement, the Italian was filmed slapping his own assistant during a match. But former teammate Zlatan Ibrahimovic once got his own back on Gattuso after being bollocked by him during training. The big Swede waited in the changing room before flipping the little man into a bin. Midfielder, Roy Keane. Certainly hard and undeniably a bastard, Roy Keane was a terrier of a midfielder who was actually a lot more sophisticated than most fans remember. The Irishman was also an excellent passer and the quintessential big game player, almost single-handedly winning a semi-final against Juventus in 1999 on United's way to Champions League glory. Keane was also a vindictive arsehole who earned 13 red cards in his career, waited 4 years to break Alf-Inge Haaland's leg, and still moans about any player who seems like they might enjoy being paid to kick a ball around. No matter how tough Keane was, he was never as tough as he thought, as became obvious when he squared off against Patrick Vieira. Central midfielder, Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Jones is what everyone imagines when they think of a football hardman. A defensive midfielder with Wimbledon and Chelsea, Jones had very little skill and no subtlety, but simply kicked, hacked, and shoved opponents out of the way. In the late 80s, Wimbledon earned the name the Crazy Gang for their dirty play, while Jones achieved notoriety for grabbing a young Paul Gascoigne's balls during a game against Newcastle. He still holds the record for the quickest ever booking in a football match, receiving a yellow card after 3 seconds in an FA Cup game. And after retirement, he put his thuggish image to use in movies, appearing in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and X-Men 3, among many others. Attacking midfielder, Patrick Vieira. Roy Keane's nemesis, Patrick Vieira was 6 inches taller than his sparring partner and was perhaps the only player never to be scared of the United skipper. Vieira dominated Premier League midfields in the early 2000s, snuffing out attacks with crunching tackles and racing forward to cause chaos in the final third. Vieira was an intelligent, skillful, multi-talented footballer who also happened to be enormous and tough as nails. He won 6 titles with Arsenal and Inter Milan, as well as a World Cup and Euro 2000 with France, and went one better than Kino with 14 red cards for club and country. Now coaching New York City FC, we can only imagine how scared Vieira's players are when the boss decides to join in training. Forward, Mario Mandzukic. An old-fashioned centre-forward, Mario Mandzukic has never quite looked comfortable in the modern game. He won 2 Bundesligas and the Champions League with Bayern Munich, but was swiftly moved on by Pep Guardiola to Atletico Madrid and then to Juventus. Never one to shy away from confrontation, Mandzukic left the field bloody after clashing with Dani Carvajal in one Madrid derby, and in Italy, a bad-tempered contest against Roma ended in Mandzukic squaring off with Daniele De Rossi, who reportedly called him a piece of shit gypsy. 6'3", strong as an ox and happy to throw a punch, Mandzukic is a battering ram in an age of scalpels. Forward, Duncan Ferguson. Scotland may not make particularly skillful players in recent years, but the Highlands have produced some certifiable maniacs, and chief among these was Duncan Ferguson. While playing for Rangers against Dundee when he was 23, Ferguson headbutted an opponent. At the time, he escaped with a yellow card, but afterwards he was convicted of assault. It was his 4th conviction, and he was sentenced to 3 months in prison. Nonetheless, Everton took a chance on him, and Ferguson's strength and phenomenal aerial prowess saw him plunder 73 goals in nearly 300 games for the Toffees. He was nicknamed Duncan Disorderly, routinely seeing red for chokes, slaps and pushes, and off the pitch he twice put burglars in hospital after catching them in his house. He was even fined for nutting a policeman. What a guy.
So they were our hard men in football. Safe to say I'm not one of them, but did we miss anyone out? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, click here to continue. And as ever guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.